Hey friends, welcome or welcome back. My name is Shannon, and today we're going to talk about some Christmas books that I have been reading this month. And I have only a few minutes to film this video because my partner is doing some work in the basement and he has been doing lots of banging and sawing and drilling. I don't know what he's doing down there, but he has given me 15 minutes to film this video before he starts up again. So let's get started. I have, I think, only like 4 books to talk about here. So the first book we're going to talk about is The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. I had purchased this book at like a library book sale or something for like $1. And so I was not upset when I unhauled it because I didn't really love this book. And this book here is set in Edinburgh, and we follow the family screw up named Carmen. She has no job and no money, and the job thing isn't entirely her fault. There's an economic downturn where she's from. So anyway, no job, no money. And as we get into the story, Carmen moves in with her sister Sophia, who Carmen deems as the perfect sister and her perfect little yuppie life with her perfect yuppie husband and yuppie children. So we now have this whole sisterly dynamic right from the get-go. Sophia had managed to get Carmen a job in a failing bookstore so that Carmen could help turn it around enough so that the owner could hopefully sell a profitable business. This bookstore owner is one of Sophia's clients. Sophia is some sort of an attorney. And so now we have the familiar trope of a girl arriving in an unfamiliar place during the holiday season to save a business. And on the face of that, I was totally here for it. But this story spent a lot of time on the sisters' relationship, which honestly I didn't really care about. Carmen is very whiny and spends the good portion of the book thinking that her family is out to get her. And, I don't want to discount anyone's feelings on, how they feel about their position in the family, but it was just getting old. Get over it and get on with your life. If your family is out to get you, fine, just do something about it. Don't sit there whining. So that's just my opinion. And so I felt if the author wanted to explore the sisterly dynamic in this way, I felt like she should have just written a book about it instead of trying to jam it into a supposed cozy bookstore story. And when not focusing on the sisters, we are focusing on Carmen's flirtations with 2 separate men, leading to the typical, misunderstandings that you have in every rom-com / cozy, romantic story. And with all of the time spent sulking with Carmen, we don't actually spend that much time learning about the bookshop or its owner. Like it was just some sort of ancillary story. So she names this book, the Christmas Bookshop, and we don't really get a whole lot of the bookshop in there. And I had no illusions that I was getting anything deep in this book, but I wanted something cozy and bookish, and unfortunately this just wasn't it. The one thing that I did like was Carmen's relationship with her nieces and nephews. I thought that actually was really, really cute, and if the author was going to explore the family, then maybe spent a little more time on that. But so I didn't terribly enjoy this book, and I have already gotten rid of it. Next we have The Christmas Egg by Mary Kelly. And this was first published in 1958. And this is a 3rd book in a series, the Inspector Bret Nightingale series, which I did not know when I picked this up. This story, we are following 90-year-old Russian princess Olga Kurukin, who had escaped Russia at the outset of the Russian Revolution. And she is found dead in her tiny London apartment with all of the treasures she had brought from Russia when she escaped gone. They were all stolen. She had lived in such poverty in London that nobody would have guessed that she had such treasures. And included in such treasures was the famous, or a famous, Fabergé egg, which is hardly ever actually mentioned. I think the egg is mentioned maybe twice, so I don't know why this was called the Christmas egg, but whatever. Inspector Brett Nightingale is assigned to the case, and we follow Brett as he tries to solve the robbery, not necessarily the murder being kind of ancillary. Brett suspects many people and is consistently proven wrong, which makes me wonder, is he even a good detective? It doesn't appear he knows anything about people. He doesn't collect evidence and make determinations upon the evidence. He just kind of rides on vibes and sees what happens. I mean, I guess this is how detective worked in, late 50s England. I have no idea. Throughout the story, I felt a lot was going over my head. First, with respect to possible references of the earlier stories in the series. And if I had known that this was part of a series, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, but whatever. And then second, I felt like a lot of cultural things were going over my head. In the introduction to the book, it was noted that Kelly was a master as noting the idiosyncrasies of British society, and that could be it. I just was not picking up the idiosyncrasies of this time period, this culture, or whatnot. And this definitely had a wintry feel, but it just wasn't the cozy Christmas vibes that I was looking for. It was certainly a interesting read. I didn't dislike my time with the book. It just wasn't what I was hoping for. Next, we have A Tudor Christmas by Alison Weir and Siobhan Clarke. Alison Weir is one of my favorite historical writers, and she does spend a lot of time writing about the Tudors. And so here she is writing about Tudor Christmas. And this was written to dispel the notion that most of our current Christmas celebration traditions are thanks to the Victorians, and that's actually not the case. There are a lot of things that the Victorians did bring to Christmas celebrations, specifically Christmas cards and decorating the Christmas tree. Those are Victorian concepts. But most of the celebratory traditions that we have actually date back to the Tudors, and most of those even further back to the pagans. So carol singing, mulled wine, mince pies, roast turkey dinners, decorating with holly and ivy, all pretty much, Tudor related, if not pagan related. And this book is divided into 12 chapters, and each chapter based on the 12 days of Christmas and how specific things were done on each day. For example, presents weren't actually given until New Year's Day. Twelfth Night, January 5th, consisted of theater, music, banquets. Weir and Clarke basically put Christmas into context as originally a pagan festival commandeered by the Catholic Church that holds deeply into tradition. And regardless of what you believe, regardless if you're Catholic or Protestant or whatever, like these traditions started from the pagans, and a lot of them really are important even today. And then this also does touch briefly upon how Christmas celebrations came under attack, first during the Reformation, and then nearly outlawed completely during Cromwell, because you've got the Puritans who did not believe essentially in the Christmas holiday. They didn't believe that, the birth of Jesus was on December 25th and all that. They didn't believe in the partying and the feasting or its pagan origins. But the people just were not having it, and they were essentially revolting against Cromwell, trying to take away all of their Christmas celebrations. And for a lot of the working people, Christmas was like the only time, the only joy in their lives, the only time that they, were able to just sit down and, have a good meal and get alms from, the rich. And so it really was important, especially to the lower classes, and they just were not having it. So the Puritans traveled to the New World, set up Massachusetts Bay Colony here where I am, and basically ensured that nobody here had any fun. So they basically outlawed Christmas here. And Christmas actually wasn't a federal holiday here in the US until 1870. Fun fact, I actually looked that up and I found that very interesting. So thanks to the Puritans for that. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the descriptions of the food and the decorations and the revelry. And even if you are not interested in the Tudors, she doesn't really talk a lot about, the actual people themselves. She just talks all about the traditions and where they originated from and how the tradition of toasting actually came from the Tudors. So highly recommend you pick this up regardless of whether you are a fan of the Tudors. So those are the 3 books that I have finished. I am currently in the middle of the Penguin Book of Christmas Stories, which is edited by Jessica Harrison. And this is a short story collection full of Christmas stories from around the world. You've got Hans Christian Andersen, Shirley Jackson, Langston Hughes, Chekhov, Irene Nemirovsky, Bienvenido Santos, and it's really good. I'm enjoying it. Some stories are cute, some are sad, funny, silly, weird, some are very dark, but all of them actually do have a distinctly Christmas feel about them. My favorites so far are Dancing Dan's Christmas by Damon Runyon. If you've ever seen the musical Guys and Dolls, Damon Runyon's short stories were taken and made into Guys and Dolls. So you read his story, you have to have like a Tony Soprano accent as you're reading through it. It's really a fun little story. It's about a small time New York hoodlum's extravagant Christmas prank. And then the other one that I've enjoyed so far is The Christmas Turkey by Mario de Andrade, who I think is a Brazilian author. And it talks about the first Christmas after the death of the family patriarch and the family's struggle of enjoying a turkey dinner during that time. So I really enjoyed that story. The only gripe so far that I have about this book, the type is so tiny. I'm like, and I don't think I'm that old yet where I don't need readers yet, but like this is just like it's really tiny. So maybe if I find another version of this collection with better type, I might pick it up because this is just really tiny. So that's it. Just a couple of quick Christmas books that I've been reading. What have you been reading to get into the Christmas/holiday spirit? You obviously don't need to be celebrating Christmas to be reading, wintry books. What holiday do you celebrate, and what are you reading to get yourself into the holiday/winter spirit? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great day. Bye.